In this lost tape, some young punks are playing around with a brown paper bag, throwing it at each other before they go to plant it on the doorstep of a stranger. Once it's placed there and lit, one of the punks knocks on the door and races away, while the old man homeowner opens the door to find it flaming there and stomps it out. It probably didn't seem so funny when the men attempted to prank him for a second time. This time the old man comes after them and they just manage to escape, but the third time's a charm. When the prank is attempted a third time, the man is waiting for them. He peers down through the curtains of the door window, whips open the door to strike the young guy on the head, and then drags him into the house. When the two others go to investigate, they videotape the front hallway, where the old man is seen leaving into the next room. They then head around the outside of the house and into the backyard. That's where they meet their maker. No other information on what happened next could be found. This person's spirit didn't stay in the ground. Published by Scary and Mysterious Stuff in January of 2022, this ghost hunter was walking along a road near an old graveyard at night when he spotted this. The ghostly figure could, of course, be a statue. It does seem to be standing abnormally still at first, then it clearly starts to move. Its long robe flows behind it as it strides forward. The cameraman comes closer and finds it kneeling before a grave, praying. When it turns to look at him, he shoots off like a light, running as fast as he can before his lights are out forever. Definitely the right call. A YouTuber named El Indocente is making a tutorial about how to repair a corroded window in his home. First, he puts special tape over it and hits it with some kind of industrial cleaning agent. Next, he removes the tape and applies more cleaner to get it sparkling like new. But here's a step he never expected to see: the ghostly image of his father unexplainably looking back at him. El Indocente swears that this is real and has no idea how his father's likeness is imprinted on the glass. I suspect that there is a way to transfer photographs onto glass that I'm not aware of. Let me know if this is some kind of special technique he's using, or if that's really a ghost in the window like he says. What's in the closet of this hotel? Posted by Horror Talk, this TikToker appears to be filming your standard hotel lockbox on a top shelf of the closet, only this one's not so standard. The lockbox keeps beeping and flashing sixes, the sign of the devil, after which it repeatedly shows an error.
I'm literally over here with this. Bro, I'm terrified.
The girl is far away from the lockbox, and no one else is in the room. She says she just got back from the hotel bar and was reading a scary book when this started happening. Some think the 6 key was just pressed too many times and is malfunctioning. Others think the ghost is just trying to get his valuables. But what I'm wondering is what's in the box. Steve and Jake are wandering around the woods one summer night with a single goal in mind. They want to explore an abandoned local chapel that's rumored to be haunted. As they approach, they see that someone has written prayers and warnings all over the outside wall. The two friends instantly get a bad feeling about this adventure, but they swallow their fear and decide to press on. The rickety main door is locked, so they sneak around back. Already, they don't want to be here much longer. They had explored an old clock tower earlier in the day and were greatly disappointed by a lack of paranormal activity. But they could tell this church is way different. The place looked and felt quite haunted. They go up some wooden steps and enter through the back door. They shine their flashlights deep into the church's main assembly. There's rows and rows of wooden pews ahead of them. They pass by a podium and notice a piano. Then they head deeper inside. Now they find themselves inside of a small maintenance closet. They close the door behind them because they don't want anyone sneaking up on them. It feels like anyone could be watching them right now. They see a ladder to the left. Steve is about to climb it until Jake jokes that a body is going to fall down on him if he does, so he decides not to. That's when the piano starts to play from outside.
Oh no. Oh my god. Turn off the light. Listen. It's fucking piano. Is that piano? Come on. See the door out there? Is that door open?
It's a soft and haunting piano melody that fills the church. Steve and Jake shut off their flashlights and keep recording. They debate whether or not they should go outside or stay here, where it's semi-safe. They realize that they can't spend the entire night trapped in the broom closet of a haunted church, so they turn their flashlights back on to see who is playing. Sitting at the piano at the far end of the room is a black hunched over phantom. They scream and shut the door. Jake cries for a bit, then they run away through the back exit. The music stops as soon as they leave the church. They were hoping that the music stopped because it was over, but in reality, it was because the ghost had gotten up from the piano to chase them. They run a good distance before pausing to look back into the dark scenery. It seems like they've gotten away, but then the ghost finds them and they run away screaming. The camera cuts off as they fall back deeper into the woods. At least one of them survived and uploaded this video onto YouTube, where it's remained for the past 10 years. Lechworth Village used to be a collection of 130 mental asylums, built 2 hours from Brooklyn, a place where unwanted people in the early 1900s New York were taken to be forgotten, never to be visited, never to be removed. Atrocities were inflicted daily upon patients unable to make sense of what was happening to them, or to defend against it. With a ratio of 3 nurses to every 80 patients, there simply wasn't enough staff to keep everyone well fed or even alive. Mealtimes were a mad scramble in which a handful of nurses had to shovel food down patients' throats, often against their will. Some didn't survive. Their bodies were branded with a number and taken to a cemetery in a nearby forest. Lechworth Village did not shut down until 1996, 85 years of suffering total. Now, after 100 years after its creation, the 130-building mega asylum has rotted down to only a few of the most haunted sites left standing. Areas full of activity that a paranormal explorer named Angelo wants to document. On March 2nd of 2020, Exploring with Angelo enters one of the only buildings left standing. Shadow figures watch from a distance as they cautiously make their way through. Apparitions who are there one moment and gone the next. And it isn't until they begin walking up the stairs that the creepy noises begin. Sounds like doors opening while both of them are standing in place.
That makes me mind of the house in the morning. That makes me mind of the house in the morning.
Or this low croak right behind them at 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
That's weird. That's weird.
Or when they get to the top and find the doors wide open leading into the dark forest. So if this door is already open, then explain this.
Glad these things are all made of metal. This goes to a road.
The door somehow creaks open without moving. It sounds like it's being pulled open from straight ahead, and yet nothing is there. Here's the door at 5 minutes and 6 seconds when the sound happens, and here it is again at 5 minutes and 50 seconds after the sound. It's open at the exact same angle down to the degree. They didn't touch it. They step through and turn around to look at the door from outside. They turn out their light to see if they pick up anything. Sure enough, these two beady eyes reflect on the wall despite there being no lights of theirs turned on. At 6 minutes and 25 seconds, they hear and see something jump across the camera. When they turn their lights back on, it's gone. They explore a few other rooms, and when they retrace their steps, the phantom doorway opens once more.
I just heard it again. Yeah, I heard it too. Whatever, just keep going.
The top floor is filled with hospital beds. Look what appears right as they ask a simple question out loud.
People claim they see in this place. Shadows.
A glowing circle floats by in response, and soon a bad feeling rushes them off of this floor. But as they are leaving, they hear this noise coming from a different building, one deeper in the forest.
That's what we've been hearing.
That's what we've been hearing, but that's coming from the forest.
Angelo is walking towards the noise when it becomes evident that they are surrounded.
What?
They are looking one way when a hiss comes from the opposite direction.
What is that?
I don't know.
Oh, what the f was that?
Up ahead is another asylum building and more voices.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right.
That's where the noise is coming from.
And this large white sideways face peering at them from inside. As they walk around the perimeter, all of the commotion strangely stops. The forest is as silent as can be, but as soon as they enter the building, they hear the noise again. Something is playing with their mind. Inside is little more than room after room of decaying white wallpaper. When they reach the end of the hall, they hear heavy footsteps from where they just were. This sounds like real fear to me. At first they try to determine where the footsteps are coming from, but this is the moment they need to get out of there fast.
Ever since we got here.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
They face their fears long enough to stop and turn around one last time to confirm they were really being followed.
Anything there?
I'd say it's pretty clear that they were. When ghosts need a clean getaway, they simply possess moving objects. Sometimes these objects are motor vehicles, or so this clip would suggest. Published by Truebill in January of 2018, the short video purports to show the paranormal possession of a car parked in a parking garage. This white vehicle rocks side to side, its doors open and shut, and its alarm starts going off, all while no one is near it. Even the windshield wipers start swiping, while its back door flings open and closed. Soon the car's paranormal activity sets off every car alarm in its row. The car is later seen driving through the garage, apparently without anyone at the wheel. When the security guard sees there's no driver, he races off. Is this a driverless vehicle, or is a ghost taking this car out on a joyride? One is a lot scarier than the other. A fire to warm the darkness isn't always a good thing. Posted on TikTok by official GPT and Instagram by GPT official. This clip was captured during the Ghost Panic team's live stream. The footage shows a man shouting into the wilderness. At first, you don't know what's going on as he spins around, but after a time, you see a figure perched in a nearby tree. The figure blends in with its surroundings until it lowers its arms. Then you can distinctly see its face, hair, and body as it remains perched on its limb. As the man talks to it, the figure stands up. Then inexplicably, a fire is lit at its feet. The cameraman quickly flees the scene. It's unclear what the figure was and how the fire was lit, but by the cameraman's panicked reaction, I have an idea that this figure was nothing less than evil. Word of warning, always welcome ghouls to the party. If you don't, they will come a-haunting. Published by Oliver Fear, this clip's original source is unknown, but believed to be from TikTok. The video shows a party gathered around a swimming pool. As the camera pans around the pool, capturing all the fun, a sullen figure of a young girl dressed in white is seen standing in the grass to the side. When the camera pans back, the creepy ghost girl is gone. Did she abandon the party? Or is she closer than you think? A woman uses Snapchat to confront a ghost who has been haunting her house for 8 years.
Are you there? Oh, there you are.
I find it interesting that the ghost disappears when she lets out a startled gasp, almost as if the ghost is anxious too.
Don't be afraid, come out.
The ghost appears whenever she says hi.
I'm a little frightened at the moment. I didn't expect this to work. Hi.
Then again, this kind of looks like a smile, so maybe it's just the Snapchat app glitching out and not a paranormal sighting after all. Not only do you have to worry about pyrotechnic incidents at work, you might have to worry about ghosts as well. YouTuber Joey Nike 12 posted this video of a store he claims is haunted in Kingsville. At the beginning of the video, he tells a co-worker, "Let's go record that room," before heading to the haunted room in question. They set a video camera up to record the purportedly paranormal activity that occurs in this room. About 3 minutes into the footage, you can see a dustpan move ever so slightly, and then not ever so slightly. It falls over, and a moment later, the door next to it slams closed. The boys re-enter the room nonchalantly, not knowing the strangeness that has just occurred there, but after coming across this video that went too far, they may not want to enter this haunted storage room ever again. A woman haunts this old house, and these paranormal investigators are about to meet her. Published by Thiago Furacao, he and his partner are exploring this haunted home when they are greeted by this, their EMF meters going full throttle as they look back at the doorway terrified.
C'est vieux! Oh!
They follow the phantom woman into this room, but they find no one. Still, their EMF meter is full. There's a crack in the wall in this room, and Thiago instinctively heads towards it. Setting her camera there, she captures the woman again. Would you remain in this home with such a reclusive figure? Or is it time for these two to leave her to her ghost town? These friends are talking in the kitchen when someone else pulls up a chair to join them. The only problem is, no one's there. When one of them finally notices that the chair is a full 2 or 3 feet away from the table, he's so startled that he doesn't even close the refrigerator. He just wants to get away fast, which is a realistic reaction for sure.
That chair move.
Of course, no one else in the group believes his bizarre story at first, but when they see it for themselves, their scared reaction are as legit as can be. I'll add that the fear and surprise on his face is readily apparent here too.
That chair move. You got crazy? Oh my God!
All of them are trying to come up with a rational explanation, and the best answer they have is that the man in a white shirt is somehow causing it to happen. It's true that the chair only seems to move when he is either approaching it or standing nearby. Just when they are beginning to calm down, a final event seems to confirm their suspicions.
Something's wrong with you, bro. Something's wrong with you.
Let me know what you think is happening here, and if you think this is a prank or the early stages of a spiritual possession. That's not sludge you're looking at. Published by Casey Spotlight, a creepy sludge-like creature was captured on film in the shallows of a lake. The figure looks squidgy, mushy, rubbery, and above all slimy. Its form seems malleable. Its movements is like an amoeba, altering its shape. It also appears to have a mouth, but one with no teeth and only grandma gums. Well, some in the comments say it's a leech. If that's the case, it's the biggest leech I've ever seen. What do you think it is? Any theories? Polar19 posted this video of her beagle in 2008. She wrote, "This is my 6-month-old beagle, Lewis, who started barking and growling at something in the kitchen, mostly focusing on the open cupboard. He has been known to wake up in the middle of the night, barking and growling at something unseen. The YouTuber says that Louise won't calm down until she lets the dog patrol the house. In the video, the dog is barking towards the pantry. He walks further into the kitchen and starts howling. Backing up again, he howls and growls at the pantry. He walks forward again, still howling and sniffing the ground. He just keeps at it, backing up, walking forward, barking, growling and howling until the video ends. YouTube commenters note that the dog's hair is standing on end, and the guttural sounds the dog is making are usually a warning. What could he possibly seen in the darkened pantry that we don't? Whatever it is must be well hidden, as you can hear something growl back at the dog at 45 seconds into the video. So there must be something there. A YouTuber named Phoebe Mayhew made a scary face swap video from 2016 that's still an unsolved mystery to this day, and I'm hoping this is the year we can find an answer. So Phoebe makes a joke about having no friends to face swap with, when this invisible presence takes her up on her generous offer to change faces.
Hello, anyone want it?
The eerie apparition is apparently above her, and she switches places with something peering in from the highest point of the door. So the only thing in the corner that possibly looks like a face would be the overhead lighting. But when Phoebe tries to recreate the situation, nothing happens.
But it's definitely not the light it was doing it to. Because the light's over there and it's not doing it now.
Like I said, I don't see anything else in that doorway that could have set off the face swap. Do you? It makes me wonder if something tall and creepy was watching her and then vanished. German ghost hunter Cubanito goes exploring an abandoned haunted house for one of the scariest 3 a.m. videos I've analyzed in quite some time. The haunted house has long been abandoned in the woods. Getting inside is quite a chore because an unsafe wooden ladder is missing many steps. Inside is a dark and heavy feeling that makes them whisper nervously. A missing section of wall shows a hidden room under the steps.
Fernsehen und so. Hey, warte, guck mal. Hau da, ey. Jetzt verlängere ich's gerade. Komm.
They hear a loud noise and run outside, but they didn't come here to get scared off in the first few minutes, so they continue the 3 a.m. paranormal investigation and go in. This time they manage to get upstairs and come to a door painted solid black at the end of a long dark hall. They are beyond freaked out, but nobody wants to quit, so against their better judgment they open the door. In this decrepit little bedroom they find a warning written on the dresser. I feel like it's a warning about a ghost, but the Google translation is so off that I won't even bother telling you what it says. If any of my German subscribers could tell me what this means, I would really appreciate it. The second word definitely looks like stop. They start to prod the door open but cannot bring themselves to. It's probably for the best. Who knows what was in there? Probably nothing good. There's one room left to check out on the top floor. This room looks like it's seen a lot of party action. It might even still be inhabited by some. They start to worry about the floor breaking, and that's when it might actually start to.
Was kann ich alle auf einem Flex, weil es einbricht?
Stopp. Scheiße, Mann.
Was geht?
A snapping noise sends them all running out of the house before their 3 a.m. challenge becomes a 3 a.m. rescue. A team of ghost investigators patrol through a dark farmhouse at 3 a.m. and set up their equipment. Suddenly, their thoughts are interrupted by an overwhelmingly powerful force.
What was that?
An adjacent door flies open soon as they shine their flashlight up into the attic. The team feels like they are being watched from something outside. They're talking about what to do next when they witness another display of brute force.
We get to experience an EVP session in a creepy abandoned house.
Something smashes the window out and they see what appears to be a white apparition slowly walking away. The object has no distinct shape and somehow seems to be both near and far at the same time.
What the was that? Holy shit! There's somebody out there!
All of them scramble to the car and take one last look as they leave. It's really hard to see, but zoom in on the window and you'll see a head move away on the left side. Let me know if you see what I mean or not. Luisito Comunica enters a graveyard in Argentina meant for millionaires to see what the afterlife is like for the rich. After he is taking a personal tour in a cemetery that's supposed to be empty, he twice fails to see what many later insist was a shadow person lurking nearby. This possible ghost sighting over his shoulder is giving a lot of people the creeps. I think it was weird at first, but now I think it could have just been another person taking a tour. This encounter at 9 minutes and 55 seconds is what has many people convinced that this is a ghost, but I think I have a different explanation. The first person is wearing all black and does look creepy, but if you look closely you can see a second person is walking with him, and therefore this is almost definitely just a couple taking an afternoon stroll and nothing more. This isn't paranormal in my opinion, but with almost 8 million views and new comments coming in all the time, I just wanted to analyze this video and put the rumors of this video to rest. Still, you should always watch out for strange people while on vacation, especially in a cemetery. You might want to avoid this forest because it's apparently home to brain-hungry zombies. Published by Adient in October of 2021. A man appears completely lost in the thick foliage of a forest at night. As he's walking, a terrifying noise is heard. He continues, periodically calling out to whatever awaits him in the dense trees.
Hello? Nang? Oi! Nang, sorry!
That's when he sees this.
Hey!
Something lying in the dirt crawls out, obviously to feast upon his brains. The man turns around and races out of the forest in fear. At one point, he is knocked to the ground. He looks around, whimpering in the darkness, but doesn't see anything around him. Did the zombie give up, or is he on the verge of an ambush? Prepat Amusement Park is an abandoned park in the Chernobyl region. It was abandoned before its planned grand opening after the meltdown that contaminated the area in 1986. Posted to TikTok by Edwin Calderon608, this TikToker is wondering what this person is doing in the highly contaminated park. The deserted Ferris wheel looks particularly gloomy, standing still with no one on it. That is until the viewer zooms in on Google Earth to see a male figure standing in the service box beside the ride. The man isn't armored against the radiation that still pollutes the area. He is completely unprotected against it, leaving me to wonder if he's perhaps superhuman. Anyone want to risk a visit to ask him? No, that'd be a terrible idea. A YouTuber named Baskir Beniwal has been thinking about the strange events of this unexplained video taken on his helmet cam at night in India. The more he thinks about the mysterious encounter that I'm about to show you, the less sense it makes to him, and the more scared he becomes. So let's try to solve this video and help him explain the unexplained. Okay, so he's returning home with his friends, but the roads are very dark and soon they become completely lost. They are already going slow to look for road signs when a speed bump slows them down even more. That's when they capture on camera a mysterious figure in white walking up ahead. At first they are excited because they think he will be able to give them directions to get back home, but the mysterious figure instead does not say a word or even acknowledge them, staring straight the whole time. Tell me what's being said during this short interaction in case I'm missing anything important.
भैया सही तो है ना आदमी? पूछो
भैया
भैया भैया क्या हो गया? क्या हुआ? क्या हुआ?
Something about the man is extremely off-putting and instantly gives this YouTuber the impulse to get away fast. After a while, however, they figure there's no harm in trying to ask for directions from him a second time, and so they turn around. But here's where things get weird. They go to where he last was sighted, only to find
कहा तो सही ना पैदल चलता हुआ इंसान mysterious.
That the mysterious figure has completely vanished, and it's not like a lot of time has gone by or anything like that. They encounter the strange silent man, keep going for another 20 seconds, turn around, and then drive back for another 20 seconds to where he just was. So not even a minute has passed before the figure mysteriously disappears. Assuming this was a person and not a spirit, he could have seen the motorcycle turning around and got scared, so he found somewhere to hide. But here's the thing, I never told you where they were returning from. They had spent the day at the Bangar Fort, which is said to be of the most haunted places in all of India, so maybe this was a ghost sighting of something paranormal that was following them home. I mean, walking around in the middle of the night in total darkness is weird. Not stepping off the road when a vehicle approaches is even weirder, and staring straight ahead when someone calls for your attention is just bizarre. So maybe it was a ghost on video after all. A mysterious robed figure, an abandoned home. This clip has me on edge, published by Kisa Weba in April of 2022, and originally published by YouTuber Hisham Al-Daimak. This video is trending in the Spanish-speaking YouTube community. The footage shows a group of paranormal investigators exploring an abandoned home. As they look toward one room, one of the crew starts shouting. The cameraman turns around and finds this behind him.
Bismillah. Atla.
The robed figure walks slowly away from them, not responding to their repeated calls. It's unclear if this is a paranormal figure who appeared there, a jinn perhaps, or if it's one of their own crew fallen under a trance. Is this a possession or an apparition? Tell me what you think in the comments. An old hospital that was recently turned into an office building is experiencing some pretty strange activity lately, as you will soon see for yourself on this unsettling piece of security footage. Right there it starts. And that door just completely opens by itself. Just watch that one more time. So the door stays completely closed, and then just out of nowhere starts opening. And like the title says, this building is completely empty when this happens. So unless there's potentially a window open, like some sort of draft, I just can't think of any other reason why this would be happening. To provide some context on this video, the owner of the office building has said that he has seen somebody standing in the corner of this room, but he didn't want to say it was anything paranormal because he was a skeptic. However, just to make sure nothing serious was going on, he called the local authorities, and about a week later, after an alarm went off in the building, they came down to the office to come take a look, but they were unable to find anybody or anything. After checking the security camera footage, this is what they saw. So is this a haunted office building, or just something easily explainable, like a bad door that opens on its own or something? Let me know what you think. A group of friends are heading down the road. When they think they see something in the distance, they silently observe a small figure standing motionless, just barely within sight. Listen to this part and translate if you can. Finally, they decide to take their chances and barrel past. Look closely and you'll see that the highway phantom is cloaked in a single white sheet. The stranger remains motionless as the bike passes, not even putting their hands up to protect themselves. This bizarrely calm reaction is not ordinary. It makes me think that this was in fact a real highway ghost encounter. This video was published to YouTube by Truthfinder30330 in March of 2020. Truthfinder's paranormal experience is more than creepy. It's absolutely terrifying. According to the man in the video, who is holding up note cards to explain his situation, he's a student who moved into a townhouse with 2 roommates who'd begun to experience odd happenings inside the home. He attempted to capture video evidence, but was unable to until now. His roommates also reported strange things occurring. On the night in question, they were out and our friend was home alone in the townhouse. He begins filming upon entering his home. As he's walking around, he starts to hear strange noises, including knocking and then something that sounds like a piece of metal falling on the ground. When he goes to check it out in the kitchen, that's exactly what he finds. A metal ring on the tile floor. It looks like it fell off the light fixture. After going upstairs and putting his keys on his desk, the hall light fixture starts to go nuts, flickering on and off statically. When he turns around facing his room again, something is standing there with a sheet covering it, a human form. He pulls the sheet away to find nothing there. He searches his room to see if there's anything to explain the form. Under his desk in the closet, there's no one there. That is until he opens his bedroom door to the hallway and again finds this. If this video doesn't creep you out to the max, then you must be Superman. Number 5. A YouTuber named Vintango says his Xbox might be possessed by a ghost, and a bunch of people in the comments are backing him up. It's opening and closing at random like crazy, and then all of a sudden it stops like it's thinking about something. When it starts up again, one commenter says that it kind of sounds like the ghost is trying to make the Xbox say help me. This video is from 2009, so the console was already up to 8 years old and possibly breaking down. Spirits try to communicate with all sorts of other electronic devices, so I guess an old Xbox is as good as anything. An abandoned home with a tragic past turned into ritual grounds for secret groups? Sounds like a recipe for disaster. Published to YouTube by Steve Ronan in September of 2020. This paranormal investigation looks inside the devil's home, as it's so called. According to Ronan, this millionaire's mansion was built in the 90s, but the family who was to live here passed away before it was finished. First off, although it's an abandoned mansion, the power is still on. While wandering the house, they hear disembodied voices, but it's this pentagram in one of the rooms that gives them pause.
Is that a REM pod? Yep.
They place an REM pod in the middle and it goes wild. Is something nefarious at home here? It certainly seems so. Built around 1635, the Pizzeria Castle is said to be one of the most haunted places in Ukraine. Take a look at some of the best paranormal evidence ever taken out of the creepy castle.
Andriana!
A ghostly figure appears in the window and waves at them before mysteriously disappearing. It's not a reflection of clouds because of how quick it fades in and out. The person filming calls out the name Adriana, who I think was the name of one of the king's many wives hundreds of years ago, and whose life was possibly taken by him. Or it's just good editing. Hard to say. This place is said to be absolutely flooded with supernatural forces, so who knows? A YouTuber named This Is Dan Bell has made a name for himself by exploring some of the creepiest abandoned places on Earth. This time he is seeing what he can find at an abandoned house outside of Baltimore City, the former home of the notorious Stephen Craig Johnson to be exact. In 1983, Stephen Craig Johnson brutally ended the life of his child in a fit of delusional rage. The case grew famous all up and down the entire East Coast, and it doesn't look like anyone has lived in the house ever since. As Dan Bell travels deeper inside, you can feel the sadness and despair clinging to every room. Amidst the discarded debris and wreckage, Dan Bell finds a weird handwritten letter in the closet with illustrations of a woman on the front and back. There's a brief paragraph talking about how evil the house is and what can be done to stop it. Some of the handwriting is kind of hard to read, so if anyone wants to type this letter out, I would appreciate it. Two things seem kind of sketchy about this letter to me though. First of all, the ink does not look faded enough to be something from the 80s, and the paper does not seem very aged either. I don't think it was penned by anyone in the Johnson family, so maybe someone else snuck inside and placed it here in recent years. Dan Bell is understandably nervous at this point, but he has come this far and there's still an entire second floor left to explore. He eventually finds himself in a stale attic covered with scattered documents and heaps of trash. He's just about to leave when he makes eye contact with something that has been watching him all along. A vulture, the devourer of fallen animals, silently regards him from the floor. Its gaze is calm and expectant, almost prideful in a way. If this really is a wild animal and not staged, then it is almost certainly a bad omen for sure. A YouTuber named Lord Cryptid looks up to see a gorilla-sized creature staring at him from a short distance away. The head and shoulders are clearly defined, but it's not moving at all, so Lord Cryptid decides to get a closer look. It continues to silently regard him as he closes in. Now only a thin patch of thickets and reeds separates him from the threat before him, and when he zooms in, you're not going to believe what he sees. He is only meters away and it still looks like a humanoid, not a bear. But when the camera focuses, what was originally an astoundingly scary creature is actually little more than a tree stump. I'm including this video because I feel like it could explain many of the other similar cryptid sightings in the woods. So in the future, unless the creature actually moves, it's probably just a stump. That thing you see out of the corner of your eye shouldn't be trusted. Posted by FingerLongJumping804 to the Ghosts subreddit. This looks more like a gremlin than a spirit. The video shows a man just trying to go about his day, taking out the trash, but as he opens the door, this strange small shadow leaps into view and quickly disappears out of the frame. The guy doesn't appear to see the figure in reality as he opens the door. Redditor Joey Josie suggests that someone just threw a piece of clothing across the room. Others think it's a gremlin. Some who've slowed the clip down note that the figure appears transparent, but perhaps the best theory comes from Pantless Weekends, who writes, "Trash bag was taken out, but its soul remained in the house. Better kick that to the curb too, before it stays for good." While some orbs do indeed appear like nothing but floating dust, others act more strangely. Published to YouTube by Ryan Blake in April 2020, he writes, "Caught this on our night vision camera at about 4 a.m. This is a very used basement, and there really isn't any dust down there, since my wife and I keep it very clean. Don't know what to make of it really." The series of videos shows orbs on several occasions sweeping past the camera. The first one flies from the upper left corner down to the bottom right. The second up the right side of the screen. The third briefly appears after the YouTuber shuts the door at the end of the hallway to go to bed. And the fourth flies up to the right and then back down again, returning to the bottom left corner. Is this a case of bugs, dust, or other explainable events? Or could this be a spirit channeling these homeowners, attempting to be made known? If only we could ask the orbs what their motive is. If you think you see someone that others don't, you may be right. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Christina7658, the Redditor explains that a friend that works at a Subway in South Texas recorded this footage from a security monitor after a coworker kept seeing a cowboy who apparently wasn't really there. The bad quality of the footage is due to the fact that this happened more than 10 years ago. This is what the pair found when they reviewed it. A shadow figure is seen rising from the ground near the entryway. The mist-like figure appears to hover for a moment before making its exit through the window. This has most in the comments freaked out, with Typeractive Audie stating, "You can see his hat. I won't sleep tonight." Other Redditors like JCKCS Mama debunk the all too common insect on the lens theory by stating that the anomaly doesn't appear from the edges of the camera frame, as one might expect a crawling insect too. Instead, it seems to come directly from the ground. Christina also states that the anomaly appears to take on the window tint as it exits the building. She also notes that the worker who kept seeing the cowboy had seen it throughout her entire shift. There used to be another video of her washing dishes, and a black blob like the one in the video is next to her. Although she couldn't find the other video, the combination of events has many leaning towards the paranormal. Others suggest that corruption of the videotape or the camera's hardwire issues could be a more practical explanation. But is that what you're seeing here? Iljin Pudding of the South Korean YouTube channel Ghost Horror Diary has a creepy video with an important message. Iljin wants to prove that ghost hunting is not a men's only activity and that she can be just as brave. She goes exploring an abandoned building all by herself, a haunted place where paranormal energy pours forth from the entrance. Now this lone ghost hunter starts to catch some very interesting things on video.
여잔데?
Next, she captures this. A scary smiling ghost face makes her recoil in horror.
항상 찍히면 문에서 많이 찍히더라고. 근데 오늘 안 찍히는 게 없나 봐. 뛰다닌다고? 야, 일로 와봐. 뭐야? 씨부러.
She presses on down a hidden hallway teeming with paranormal energy, and at the top of some stairs is a really weird painting that she zooms in on. Something about this place, the painting, the room, feels haunted.
뭐야, 이게 이상한데야.
No more than this, she says, and walks back down. I would like to know more about this painting if anybody happens to recognize it, or anything about the scene it's portraying. It looks like somebody in knight's armor is raising a shield in the air at a podium with someone kneeling behind them, but that's all I can tell. Oh, and there's one more thing that's scary. On the floor of another room is a handwritten sign with this message that freaks her out. Who left it here and what does it say?
아니, 이거 한글 맞아요?
Whoever shot this footage claims to have been filming back in 2008. They were exploring an abandoned house and decided to start filming after hearing a strange noise. It's a very short clip since it wasn't long before they were running out of the house screaming. Reviewing the footage again, you can clearly see that this is not an ordinary forest creature. Its front legs bend inwards as it runs, kind of like a human running on all fours. It doesn't appear to have much of a face, yet it can somehow make a terrifying scream. The humanoid appears to be ready for the cameraman as soon as he opens the door. It approaches aggressively, but also with a hint of caution, for it rushes at the cameraman at only half speed. It also doesn't seem to pursue him when he starts running, which means it's probably just claiming its territory and wants to be left alone. The YouTuber who uploaded this video says that this is not their only encounter with the creature. Another time they were exploring the abandoned house with a friend and a knife. They peer into the house from the front yard and listen for any signs of the creature inside. They don't hear anything, so they decide to go further in to investigate. That's when they hear its disturbing warning cries. It sounds like a mix between a squealing pig and some sort of enraged dinosaur. The two quickly turn off their flashlights and remain quiet in the dark. Then they slowly get up and start sneaking away, but just when they think they are safe.
The heck is that? Oh, shoot, go! Shoot! Just get out of the house! Get out of the house! Just get back to the house! Just get back to the house! Jesus Christ.
They run back full speed to their nearby home. When they review the footage, they vow to go back to the property the next day with guns, but they never got the courage to follow through. Since the monster never chased them in either video, perhaps it was just as uncertain of them as they were of it. Can two separate security cameras glitch at once? Or is this The Matrix Revisited? Posted to the very spooky video subreddit, a woman in Colombia appears to have vanished. and her vanishing act was captured from 2 angles. From one angle, she is walking down the sidewalk. She pauses for a moment, then walks a bit more before suddenly zapping from view. A second video captures her at an angle from the front. Again, she walks forward before disappearing into thin air at the corner of the sidewalk. Did she just teleport to another dimension? Some in the comments think this was just CCTV taking photos every few seconds, which were sped up for viewing. That way the girl could have disappeared in the so-called vanishing act. Others think this girl obviously has the gift of invisibility. What do you think is going on here? Let me know in the comments. Remember that guy who was caught on a Ring doorbell video licking someone's doorbell? Well, we've just found his soulmate. Posted in December of 2017, the footage shows a young blonde woman approach the doorbell. At first, it appears as if it was provoked by a dare. The woman walks up to the doorbell, holds up her hands strangely, as though she knows she's on candid camera, and then looks over to her right, as if looking at someone out of frame. But then she walks back, just standing awkwardly, looking around at random, before approaching the door again. Is she waiting for someone to answer? Maybe, but what she does while waiting is not normal. The woman opens her mouth wide, moving closer to the camera, and you can actually hear her bite. She then backs away again, as though nothing happened, appears to be waiting for a moment, then starts to do this. Well, it's all well and good to get your daily exercise in. Doing that on someone's doorstep late at night after biting their security camera seems a little out of it, don't you agree? This bike rider is about to get ghosted. Published by Scary Desk in February of 2022, a man on a motorbike stops in the middle of the road, and he's looking down the street at something. A pedestrian also stops nearby, and he seems to be looking at the same thing, which so far is off screen. After the pedestrian leaves, we see this. A shadow figure walks determinedly at the dude on the motorbike. As he gets closer, he disappears for a moment, but the man deliberately pushes his bike over as if to make a blockade between them and then runs off. The shadow figure suddenly reappears, and he surprisingly runs off too in the opposite direction. What is going on with this confrontation? It looks like the shadow was as afraid of the encounter as these guys were. Do you take this ghost bride to be your lawfully wedded wife? I don't. Published by Thiago Ferracao in April of 2022, this ghost hunter encountered a phantom bride that was forcibly married to her husband in this haunted church. This is what happened. As they first enter the church, an unseen force slams the door shut and moves a wooden bench with great force, and then the fun begins. The bride is first seen as they are attempting to communicate with her using a spirit box. Watch the door carefully in the background. A pale figure passes slowly. The pair don't notice it.
Qual era o seu nome?
Later, as they're told to leave, they see the figure face to face. Once they're standing outside the church, the figure is seen standing at the altar. As Thiago walks toward the church doors, they're slammed shut in his face. After watching this scary video, would you say I do? Let me know in the comments. There's something lurking around this haunted place, shared by TikToker The King Horror. The kid who saw it with his own eyes cried in fear. After racing far away from the place, they turn back, and then they see this. This hooded figure is something nightmares are made of, and he's the perfect villain for bedtime. A man from an unknown country is checking an old apartment when he is confronted by the spirit of its former inhabitants. First, something whispers behind him in another language, possibly Arabic, followed by movement. Then they slam the door he just walked through and raise the lock in midair, something that a person would not be able to do just from banging really hard on the other side. Orbs are going crazy, although it is pretty dusty in here. Anyway, pay attention to this side of the room. No one is here, yet in moments a pop flies from this direction, and when he turns around you can see the room is completely empty. Phantom figures crouch low behind doorways and promptly disappear, and when he hears these running footsteps overhead, he knows it's time to leave fast. They sound heavy and are heading straight his way. Kevin LaShawn and his large group of friends feel fairly safe doing a 24-hour challenge in a mental asylum that's supposed to be haunted. They aren't expecting to find much, and for a while they don't. However, two experiments stand out in particular. First, they invite the ghosts to play a game of cards with them by setting up flashlights in a semicircle. The flashlights stay turned off during most of this experiment, but they do seem to repeatedly respond when one person in particular comes to the table. Perhaps this person has a natural tendency to attract spirits more than the others.
I guess they want you to play a game. Come over here and sit by me. They want you to play a game.
Whoa. These flashlights are turning on by themselves.
Later, Kevin is playing with an app on his phone that is supposed to communicate with ghosts when he gets some pretty interesting responses.
Is anybody in here? What's your name? My name's Kevin. What's your name?
Even if this app is programmed to say scripted phrases at random intervals, I do think it's odd that it says something similar to Kevin's name shortly after he introduces himself. Overall, Kevin is unable to verify that this location is haunted, though many of his viewers have decided it most likely is. Let me know what you think about this entry, and what other experiments Kevin and his friends could have done to summon any spirits. A creepy dark road in India looks like the perfect place for a paranormal dashcam video, but not everything has to be a ghost encounter. I would gladly welcome an old-fashioned ghost sighting compared to what they've just caught on camera. Anyway, this still image taken at 29 seconds says it all. The jungle cat is fully outstretched and trying to make a meal of them. This looks like a well-practiced move that might have worked in the past. Oh yeah, and the person recording should have definitely alerted the moped instead of letting them blindly pass into harm's way. Elliot Mosqueda has a motion sensor cam in his living room that at first glance appears to go off for no reason. Look at the television though to see someone crossing the room. I can see the black reflection of this square poster in the television, so it definitely really was the same background. The question is if it's real or edited. Would you have the courage to enter a home in which a horrific event took place? That's how the police described this poor lady's passing, published in January of 2022. The Ouija brothers head inside one of England's most haunted abandoned homes, in which a woman is said to have had her life taken using a device to speak with the spirit. The guys ask what her name is. Her answer gives me chills.
Could you tell us your name?
Blood.
Blood?
Blood then. Bit of a funny name, isn't it?
Remember that, like that lady?
Yes, Blood.
Then, as a cameraman is backing out of a room, they capture a strange hissing noise.
Oh, I ain't going in there, man, because they'll make me ill for days.
Later, they're in another room when out the door, they see a light, it starts getting brighter, and then they hear something clatter.
Look, mate, can you see it getting brighter? It is. Oh. Hold on. Okay, mate, hold on.
Is this the ghost of the woman whose life was taken in this home? Or as Sue suggests in the comments, did the events of this poor lady's life imprint on the house? A pet snapping turtle doesn't take kindly to its owners and already has its mouth open. The warning sign goes unheeded, but thankfully one of his friends inadvertently saves him by getting his attentions moments before this happens.
He said, "What's up?"
This was almost a solid chunk of flesh taken out of his face, and a trip for medical attention for certain. This creepy encounter was posted to Reddit by Ghosty Phase. A Ring doorbell camera captured a young woman's stalker. The woman says she was followed home from Walmart, and her stalker showed up on her doorstep. At first, the man appears to be looking for his own keys, but then he fails to find any and peers around the corner of the house. Many are wondering if the creep left something for his victim. Although we can agree that this is beyond creepy and edging into full-on horror, I do think this footage reminds us not to trust anyone. You never know when you could cross paths with someone like this. A paranormal investigation channel called Ghosts of Britain think they've met their match while exploring one of the scariest haunted places in their corner of the world. An abandoned house with an unsettling atmosphere and more creepy things in it than you can imagine. On the table, they find creepy pictures left behind by someone young. A family must have lived here. The drawing and the lone meat hook in the corner do not pair well. Somehow I doubt that it was used to hang plants. They lay down a motion detector next to a toy for whoever made the picture to play with.
We want to try and make sense out of this place. We want to know about its history.
It isn't long before someone takes them up on their creepy invitation, and that's when things get really scary even for a team of ghost hunters.
Brianna.
Bear's just gone. Did you see that? The bear was just pushed over. The bear was just pushed over.
Turned away, but I heard it.
Do you know what? People are going to scream fake at this, you know?
They think no one will believe this ghost video is real, but I think it's possible. Their equipment reads out the word Brianna, and then the toy falls over like a paranormal entity trying to pick it up. If it was on a string, then the object should have fallen towards them, but it doesn't. It falls the opposite way. Perhaps the ghost of someone small is still trapped in this abandoned house, or at least that's what the evidence would suggest. Built in the 1800s, the historic Jefferson Hotel in Jefferson, Texas is haunted as can be. Every once in a while, it's not uncommon for a guest or two to complain about hearing voices at night or feeling a hand grazed by their cheek while dozing off. The owner of the hotel is doing some remodeling and walks past a door that suddenly opens all by itself. He says that the door was securely shut and that he actually heard it unlock before it opened. The scary CCTV video does in fact show him turning around a second before the door opens, so his story indeed checks out, but that's not even the scariest moments caught on camera by him. This is way worse. Creepy video of the same hallway on a different night depicts a dark shadow passing over the green door at the far end, a room where most of the activity takes place besides this hall, and when it does so, the lamp turns off on its own. Considering a jilted bride once took her life here, and the spirits of countless children are known to play tricks, this bizarre shadow person could be any of the usual suspects. I believe this ghost video's real simply based on the hotel's legendary haunted status alone. With videos this creepy, it's a wonder anyone would want to stay here for long. unless they were purposefully trying to get scared. Something about railroad tracks at night is eerily haunting, and these creepy tracks are no exception. Published by Panic Attack Scary Videos in October of 2014, this scary video might make you have a panic attack. Located in Redo, Texas, these old-timey railroad tracks have a terrible history. According to urban legend, a railroad worker let a train take his life on these tracks a very long time ago, and ever since his ghost has been seen on occasion around midnight, hovering over the bridge carrying a lantern. The boys here are interested in seeing if the tales are true. After being chaotically through the woods by a wild boar, they fall onto the tracks. That's when they see it. A mysterious light is shining at a distance on the bridge, just as the urban legend said it would. It's too far away to be distinct. They say it looks like a ball of light, and they walk toward it. But as they approach, after a while it goes out, leaving them in darkness. Was it the railway man of legend? I guess we're left in the dark about that too. When you investigate haunted places, expect to be followed home. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit, So That's Scary claims a spirit from a ghost ship followed them home. Originally published to YouTube by SDK Paranormal in September of 2020, the YouTuber explains, there is a lot of strange things happening outside, which we really do think is directly related to a spirit named George that followed us home from an investigation. So what happened? Robert explains in the video that ever since the team investigated the USS Edson, they've been encountering the spirit of George. The security footage shows a shadow appearing to knock on their door. According to Robert, they heard 3 knocks inside as this occurred. The spirit threw rocks, appeared as orbs in their photos, and spoke to them via EVP. This is when they set up security cameras and caught this on video. George shows up in the form of bright orbs, invariably a black shadow orb, which seemingly causes a chair to move. Next, the kickstand on the bike goes up of its own accord. The spirit is wild, but perhaps he just wants to be friends. On the other hand, he's throwing rocks. Who knows what he wants? This YouTube clip serves as video evidence of just how daring some people can be, or brave, if you look at it the other way. The footage is likely recorded in Russia's Far East, where a large population of bears roam free. Bears that have been known to wander into residential areas. In the video, one of these bears has done just that. A big brown bear is seen pacing around an empty lot, while a Russian man just sits calmly on a bench, not making the faintest effort to move or protect himself. In fact, he seems completely unfazed by the wild animal just feet from him. Surprisingly, the wild bear seems more scared of the Russian than this man is of the bear. As the bear roams closer toward him, he suddenly darts away. Though the man never moves an inch, while most people would be shaking in their britches in an all-out panic when within sight of a bear, this Russian man doesn't flinch. Maybe we can learn something from him. If you should ever be unfortunate enough to encounter this wild animal, it's best not to panic. Just don't be as nonchalant as this guy. A ghost hunting crew called the Singapore Paranormal Investigators go exploring the abandoned Bucket Brown Cemetery. Constructed in 1922, this is one of the largest burial grounds in the entire country. So if any place were to be haunted, it would be here. They light candles to attract spirits and soon read an energy spike on their paranormal equipment. They take a picture of the darkness ahead and think they've caught something paranormal in the shape of a glowing orb. I played this part in slow motion and discovered this strange orb is really a street sign reflecting the flash of the camera. I don't think they were purposefully faking this part and probably thought it was real paranormal evidence at the time because they were scared. The ghost meter swirls with another buildup of paranormal energy, and a solid black orb comes out of the equipment, or more likely an insect. Later that night, they think they see something fly over the candles in the area. I don't see anything here, but maybe you do. Their camera stops working shortly after they see it, so maybe there was a ghost after all. Sometimes even those who've crossed over to the other side still need a drink. YouTuber cbin98 published this haunting video in December of 2018, stating that the store in the surveillance footage is in Sydney, Australia. The short video shows a display being pushed and at least one bottle busting open. It almost looks as though someone struck the bottle. After a long moment, the entire display falls onto the floor, all the bottles inside breaking open as they fall to the ground. The last 5 seconds of the clip, however, are the most haunting. They showed the display rocking and being jerked around of its own accord. Whether or not the display fell due to the disruption or was pushed over by the phantom is unclear. Either way, that was definitely some expensive phantom rage. A YouTuber named Justin Martinez is recording some planes near his house when he notices one of the planes has extremely sporadic flight patterns, almost as if it is stalking the other one. Then this happens out of nowhere. The plane is suddenly scooped up and fully disappears. When you zoom in and slow down, you can see it's probably not a plane, but rather a UFO. It flies up and away from the scene at a high rate of speed. I think this video might be CGI because it does look a little grainy. Other people in the comments section, however, have proposed that it's everything from flying insects to the same thing that took down the Malaysian Flight 370 not too long ago. When you venture onto the grounds of a former battlefield, take note, it's likely haunted. The YouTuber explains that he and his family were vacationing in Washington, D.C. when they visited the Manassas battlefield. The battle resulted in a large number of passings. Needless to say, this is a place worth haunting, and apparently this YouTuber's got the goods. He writes, "We videotaped there, and later that day we were watching the tape and we noticed the woman dressed in white walking along the fence line. There were no reenactments going on that day, and we didn't see her there. They note that the ghost is walking away from the graves of Mrs. Henry, her daughter, and her son and into a field near the black fence to the left of the house. The Henry house stands on the plateau of the hill on which the battle took place. Judith Carter Henry was bedridden and couldn't leave the house at the time of the battle. A projectile burst through the bedroom wall and took her life. Could this lady in white be Judith? You decide." Something in this pizzeria has had enough. Posted to TikTok by Flaming Belladonna 3. This short clip shows what happens when you anger the pizza gods. The clip shows several workers standing around in the kitchen. On a pizza belt to the right, a pizza flipper and a slicer are sitting on the top belt. As the girls chat, the slicer suddenly shoots off the shelf and knocks one of them in the head. How in the world could this happen? Some think the workers angered a ghost by putting pineapple on the pizza. Others, like Jonathan Zwar, suggest that the slicer was on the conveyor and probably was pushing against the metal lip, causing it to be propelled when the tension released. Many in the comments, however, would rather focus on the danger of that slicer. The 509 Grim Knight writes, "That could have easily been in Final Destination." So now that all the facts are in, what do you think? Is this an angry pizza ghost or an angry conveyor belt? Thank you so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you.